Thank you for coming back. Thank you for tuning in with me. And those of you who are coming in for the first time, God bless you. And those of you who has already subscribed, God bless you. And thank you for coming back and tuning in with me again. So today I want to share my testimony with you. I've been working on this for a while, and it took a lot for me to go back in time pretty much and remember the events of my life and document them again and to be here to speak about them. But thank God, because of the Holy Spirit, He reminds us the things that He wants us to share, the testimony that He wants us to share. So I am grateful for that. So I pray that this testimony will bless someone and heal, help someone heal and resonate with someone. I really pray that this blesses someone out there and know that you are not alone, and God bless you. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Hadja, and I'm from West Africa, Guinea. Guinea is a small country in the western part of Africa, right by Senegal. I am half Fulani and half Mandingo. My mother is Fulani and my dad is Mandingo. Those two tribes are usually really against each other, and there's usually some sort of a civil war between them. But my mom and dad managed to get married. Both of the families, like my mother's family and my dad's family, wasn't too okay with it because, my dad being Mandingo and my mom being Fulani. But they got married, and then they had me and my little brother. So I remember my dad growing up, he was a very strict Muslim man. He was a madrasa, very strict about Islam and about everything that has to do with Islam. He literally wanted to live by the book, and he did pretty much. So he married my mother, and I remember at age 3, my dad used to abuse my mom, abuse her quite often, really beat her. And till this day I remember the screams and the cries, and he would turn off the lights, and I remember he would go and open the fridge and get cold water and come pour it on my mother and beat her up and hit her and keep pouring the cold water on her and hit her. And I am standing there as a 3-year-old, and all I could do is just cry because I couldn't do anything. And for my dad, he wanted my mom to even submit while she's being abused. So this continued and continued and continued. So one fateful night, they got into some sort of argument, and my dad started to beat her again. And this time he would throw the chairs and things in the house, and it got very chaotic, I remember. And again, every time they start, he starts to beat my mother, he would go to the fridge and reach for cold water and come pour it on my mother and keep hitting her. keep beating her up. And that night, I remember it was raining and there was thunder outside. My dad opened the door and put me outside, pushed me out. But by the time that he pushed me out and closing the door, my finger was there, and then he closed the door on my finger, and my finger got cut on the door, and I still have the mark today. So that was the night that everything ended, and he finally he kicked us out. He finally kicked us out, and before he kicked us out, my mother had learned that he got remarried. He got married. He took a second wife, and that fateful night, and it was raining, my uncle came in a truck and put all of my mom's stuff inside, and we went to Sare, which is another little city sector, you can call it. So we went there, and my mom needed to make ends meet. She needed to work to take care of us. She couldn't work with me and my little brother. I was 3 years old, going on 4, and my brother was 3 months. 3 months, just 3 months. And but she had nowhere to take us because my mother lost her father and her mother when she was also young. But she had her aunt, which I knew as my grandmother. So she was in Pita, so my mom decided to take us to Pita. So when my mom took us to Pita, we arrived there. My grandmother, lovely woman, showed me so much love, and beautiful. Everybody loved her. So we lived with her, and I started going to school. But for some reason, I was really good at hiding my pain. I had a relationship with my dad. I missed my dad, but I also didn't want my mom to be abused. So I kind of had to choose which feeling that I had to hold on to at age 3. So we started going to school, and I was very vibrant, very smart, loved to play in teams, and just I don't know how I did as a child to block that part of me, and that sad part of me, and just try to be happy. And but deep down something was missing. I missed my dad because although he was who he was, but he would take me out dancing. He would dance with me. He would take me to the movies. He would, he would tell me that I was his favorite and I was his first daughter, and I'm a photocopy of my father. So everybody knew, as soon as they see me, they knew that I was his daughter. So I missed that. I missed that. But again, I had to make a choice. But in the same city that where we were living in, my paternal grandparent lived there too. So I'd go there to visit. Them, but it was only my father's sisters and stepmothers and stepsisters that was there, because my dad also lost his mom and dad early, so it was hard. But my stepmother, my father's stepmother was nice, so I'll go there, and that was the closest I could feel from being close to my dad, if that makes any sense. I was looking for some way to still connect with my dad. So I would go over there, and so when I started going there, and I was going on 4 years old, my uncle would molest me. He would molest me, and I remember it being so painful. So painful. I remember telling him to stop. But it kept going. He never stopped. I hated it. I hated it. Because it was so painful. But he also told me that if I ever told anyone that I would never see my father again, so I kept quiet because I wanted to see my dad. So this went on for a long time. I remember one time my dad came to visit us, and it was nighttime, and I was supposed to go to school in the morning. So my dad and his brother, the one who was molesting me, was walking me to my grandmother. So we lived by the mosque, and then when we got right by the mosque, my dad was on my right side, and on my left was the mosque, and my uncle was carrying me, holding me like this. Then he would slip his fingers and start touching me. And as a little girl, I looked to my right. It's my dad. And I looked to my left. It's the mosque. It's Allah's house. The one who's supposed to save me, I thought. And I felt betrayed as a child. I can never forget that day. So they took me home, and I just kept quiet as this kept going on. I thought my father and Allah both failed me. So this went on until I was about 8 years old. It didn't stop. I started being resentful. I started being sad. But you can't say anything. First of all, he threatened me not to say anything. Second of all, the culture, Islam, won't let you say anything. And then around at 8 years old, my aunt, my dad's stepsister, started to molest me. I call her Yayang Hadja Fofana. She started doing things to me. That was hideous. Till this day, the smell haunts me. That's why I'm such a neat person. I cannot stand smell or anything dirty. I said to myself at that age, a woman, how can it be? And she told me the same thing. She said, do not say anything, because if you ever say anything, I'll make sure you're not gonna see your father. At that point, I didn't even care anymore. At that age, I realized that the love that I had for my earthly father was damaging my life. And I started not participating in school. I started withdrawing from people. I started not caring about anything else. I remember I used to cry to Allah. And ask him where he was. Never had an answer. So I stopped going to my father's family house because my dad would only come to visit us once a year or every 2 years. So I stopped. I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know who to talk to about it. Especially my aunt being a woman in Islam and doing that to me was something that I didn't even know how to think about or bring about or talk about. So a couple of years later, at age 11, thinking that the pain will stop. At age 11, they took me to this lady's house, and they lied to me because they said that we were going to the market, but we weren't going to the market. They took me to perform to undergo female genital mutilation, short for FGM. They took me to undergo female genital mutilation. When we got to the lady's house, there was some women over there, and then they laid me on the table, and then I remember them holding my hands, my arms. And I remember the lady injecting me with I don't know what. And I instantly felt like I cannot explain. I felt this burn, this heat, like my inside was burning. And then I managed to wiggle and get off the table and run, but I couldn't run. So they brought me back to the table and they laid me back down, and she cut me. And I screamed and I looked down and I was bleeding. I asked them why. They said it's part of our culture, part of the religion. We have to do it if I want to become a woman. So they picked me up after they were done. And they took me back to my grandmother. I remember looking at myself at 11, asking, why am I here? Why am I here? This was horrifying. It caused me so much pain in my life. So much pain in my life it caused me. But I guess I was one of the lucky ones, because some girls, they actually, after performing FGM on them, they actually sew them together so that they cannot be with anyone but their husband. And when I healed from that, I thought, okay, maybe now it's over. But I guess it was not over. A little bit later, Karmoko Sharif, Islamic teacher, raped me. When that happened, I was already done. This is a person that is well respected. People go to him for all sort of things. Teachings, sacrifice, you name it. I was done. I was completely done. So after that, at age 13, my mother later brought me to America to study and be with my uncle here and study. So I came and I went to high school. I went to high school and but I had to force myself to participate on any Islamic on religious applications. I knew something was missing. So I went to high school and I was working, going to school, working at age 13, 14, working, braiding hair, nighttime, daytime, long hours, and then go to school to try to support my family at the same time, my mom and my brother. So it wasn't easy. I felt like Cinderella without the prince. But the Guinean community was so toxic. so toxic. It was a hard environment to grow up in. Literally, it's the type of people that would see you and hug you, and as soon as you walk away, they will start talking about you. And I knew I was different. Everyone had something to say about me. But I did not know why I was different. At times, I would lock myself in my room and cry and ask God, why do I exist? And what is my purpose? Back then, I was praying to Allah, ask all these questions that I never got answers to. I felt like I was talking to a wall. Well, yes, I was talking to someone who was invisible, unpresent. The pain and the sorrow that I had was so heavy. But I still kept going because I knew that I didn't have room to fail. I have a family to take care of. I have a mother and a brother to take care of, so I cannot fail. So God was trying to move me out of that community, the Guinean community. So I left after so much pain, and I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like an outcast. Matter of fact, I was the black sheep. Everyone had something to say about Hadja. The Guinean community was the type of people that was in there were people that would act like they were holy. Oh, I'm Muslim, I'm holy. But then behind closed doors, their sins, the stuff that they do, you cannot even talk about. It was so fake. I couldn't take it. I wanted something different. So I left the Guinean community. But even when I left, I had to struggle to start over because I didn't know anybody. So when I left, I tried to talk to my mother. I told her about what happened to me back in Africa. She told me to let it go, forget about it. Don't talk about it. You don't want people to hear that. And I tried telling my dad about what happened also. He told me to forget it. It happens to many girls. And I was hoping that my dad was gonna be my superhero. But he didn't come to my rescue. They were more worried about the covering up. In Islam, the community, you cannot talk about those things. It's gonna bring the family name down. I'm like, wow. I expected my mom to say that, but I didn't expect my dad to say that. The reason why I said that is because growing up in Africa, my mom used to beat me up blue black. Even when I was going through all of those things in Pita, she heard that I wasn't studying anymore, doing good at school. I used to be first. Then I went to 26. I remember one night she came to my grandmother, and as soon as I opened the door to get into the house, she slapped me to the ground and sat on my neck and started choking me. That's how she always beats me up, by sitting on my neck, my chest area here, and hold my neck. So I thought my mom didn't like me because I was a photocopy of my dad, and she hated my dad. I thought she didn't like me. So when I came to America here, and when I told her that, I kind of expected that from her. But my dad, I didn't expect that from him because it was his brother and his sister, half brother and half sister. I thought he was gonna fight for me, but he didn't. So at that time, I no longer I no longer wanted to live anymore. So I tried to commit suicide. But it didn't work. I didn't die. Twice I didn't die. I was like, why I'm not dying? But God had his plans for me. So After that, I was praying. To Allah. I was praying to Allah, but He didn't show up. I went to sleep. And Jesus showed up. I had a dream. I was walking in this house. It wasn't a house, it was more like a mansion. But everything was so pure and marble white. As I walked up to the stairs, on my right side, there was a picture, and it was Jesus. And you saw that picture, I knew it's an all-knowing. And then on my left side, there was a stairwell going up. But there was light, this bright light shining through. You could not see farther. You could not see farther down. The more the light shines, get closer, the brighter and whiter the whole place gets. And I was standing there, and I was staring at the picture. And I felt something that I've never felt before. And that's when I woke up. And I woke up from that dream, and I told my mother, I said, I had a dream about Jesus. She said to me, it's okay, he's just a prophet. So I didn't think much of it. I let it go. But then my spirit, there's something in my spirit was kind of like nagging me. But then one day I was with one of my friends at a restaurant eating, and she asked me, she's like, Hadja, you should come to church with me. And I said to her that, no, I'm Muslim, I'm not gonna go to church, I don't go to church. And then after that, I shared my dream with her, and she said, I really think you should come with me to church. And I said, no, I'm not going, I'm Muslim, we don't go to church and whatever. And I was eating, I had a piece of chicken like right here eating, and it felt like someone slapped that chicken off my hand. It just went flying down to the floor, and I was like, what is happening? She thought it was funny, but I was petrified. I was like, this is like really, really, really crazy, because there's no way this could happen. It seems like literally someone slapped that chicken out of my hand. It just went over there. And we just laughed about it. And then I said to her, you know what? I'll come to church with you, so she can just get off my back. So then we went to church together, and I was sitting there, and I was listening to the choir singing, and I was looking at their faces. I'm like, how can someone love God so much? Like, I can see the love. I can see the love of Christ on their faces. I can hear in their voices. It was just so beautiful. And then after that, the preacher started preaching. And then when he was preaching, I felt like he was speaking to me. I was like, why is this man talking about me? And I didn't say anything, and I just kept sitting there. And then at the end of the service, he asked me, he's like, do you want to give your life to Christ? I was like, no, I gotta think about it. And he's like, okay, no problem. Let me pray for you. So he prayed for me. I let him pray for me, and I went back home. So that night when I went back home, I kept thinking about the songs that those girls were singing, how beautiful it was, and the way I felt, the peace and the calmness, and it was just different. And I said, this is I got very, very confused, and I was scared. But I felt like something was happening in my spirit. But I didn't know what was happening. So I had to pray and ask God the big question. So I got on my knees and I started praying. I said to God, I know this one religion all my life. But if Jesus Christ is your son and he is God, please prove it to me, because I need to know. Not even 5 minutes after I prayed that prayer, I was sitting down on my bed, and I had a vision, and I went into a trance. I had a vision because I wasn't sleeping, and again Jesus appeared to me. This time, the first time, he wasn't facing me, and then a second later he faced me. When he faced me, I knew he was that all-knowing. And then I came out of my vision, and then I got on my knees and I thanked him. I felt like my heart was moving. I felt like my organs was being rearranged or something. I can't explain it. I felt peace. Peace that I have never felt in my life. God healed me that night. I slept like a baby, which I didn't sleep well for a long time because I had panic attacks and nightmares, you name it. I went to sleep. I slept like a baby. And then God gave me another dream. This time I saw the pastor and he was preaching, and I saw his clothes and his shoes, and then the next day I woke up, I was excited to go to church on the Wednesday. So I went to church. When I got to church, the pastor was wearing the same things that I saw in my dreams. Same shoes, same shirt, same everything. I was like, okay, this is getting very interesting. So, and then I sat there during service, and it was beautiful again. And then at the end of the service, the pastor asked me, he said, you wanna give your life to Christ? I said yes. And then he prayed for me, and I gave my life to Christ. And he asked me if I knew how to pray in tongues. I said, I don't even know what tongues is. After he prayed for me, I started praying in tongues. And then a couple of seconds later, I lost control. I felt the fire of the Holy Spirit. I felt the presence of God. I felt the love of God, the love that I was seeking all my life. All of a sudden, it was in me. I felt His love. I felt His presence. And while the pastor was praying for me, but I was not hearing the voice of the preacher. I was hearing the voice of God. It's like, the way that I can describe it is like a tunnel inside a tunnel, but there's waterfall inside the tunnel, and then you have this distinct voice, like a voice that's, I've never heard any voice that's close. the voice, and I heard, and he said, I am with you. I am with you. At that moment, I felt that he was with me. He's been with me. But I was worshiping idols. And then after that service, I went home. My dreams, then God gave me the gift of dreams. So my dreams intensified. So after receiving Christ, I was still hiding from my family because I didn't know how to tell them. I did not know how to tell them. I was so afraid of losing everything. Losing everything, losing my family. I was afraid of being killed for changing my religion. I was afraid of being an outcast. So I kept hiding. I didn't say anything. So that time I had one foot in Islam and one foot in Christianity. That wasn't okay. So I started going through my trials. But God always showed me in my dreams that He was there. This one night I had court in the morning. I was supposed to go to court, and God gave me a dream. I had a visitation, an angel visitation in my dream. But this time I saw myself as a little girl in the dream. I was sitting down with my head down, weeping, sad, and this tall being with a long white robe, really big, with a long white robe, came and tapped my shoulder. And I got up and I looked at him. And he asked me to open my hands like this. And I opened my hand, and then he put his hands on top of my hands. And he asked me to close my eyes. I closed my eyes. And then when I opened my eyes, he left. But when I opened my eyes, there was a feather in my hands. And it vibrated like he's kind of like electric. And when I woke up from that dream, I knew that God was with me. I knew that God was with me. And then that next day when I was going to court, I got out of the car right on the floor on my feet, on the ground. There was a white feather. I just looked up and smiled. I had peace. So God kept giving me more dreams and angel visitations. Then I had no one but God, so I would talk to him about everything. I talked to him about everything. I kid you not. This one day, I came back from work. I was super tired. I lay down on my bed, and I had to go to church, but I wanted to sleep for like a couple minutes before I go. And when I was sleeping, I was almost late for church, and I just felt this like rod, like boom on my back, and it was not painful. You just hear it's a rod and it wakes you up, and I jump off the bed. I'm like, what is this? I look around. I'm like, I know I'm the only person here, but again, I knew inside. So I got up and went to church. So I kept hiding for a long time before I told my parents. So this one fateful day, I've met my husband and we've got married, and so we were in Miami at this point, and God gave me, a dream that it was time for me to tell my family. I woke up from that dream and with the urgency that I had to do it. So I picked up the phone and called my mom. When I called my mom, I said to her, I said, Mom, I have something to tell you. And then she's like, okay, I'm listening. She thought it was the usual thing, just, hi, how are you? But I told her that I'm no more a Muslim, that I left Islam, that I believe in Christ, and I'm not gonna keep living a double life. I will not forsake my God for anything or anybody. And then all of a sudden I heard this noise, like my mom, fainted. And then my brother came and took the phone. But my mom didn't really faint, because she usually played that with us. Whenever she doesn't get her ways, she try to make herself like she passed out. And she did that to me multiple times before, so I couldn't tell. She always did that to get her way, so she did it to me and my uncle. So I just thought it's the usual. I probably would never find out if it's for real. But then my brother picked up the phone and cursing at me. Why did you tell my mom? Why did you tell my mom this? Cursing. And then why did you tell my mom this? You've killed my mom. You killed my mom. And cursing me out. And then I told my brother, I said, I'm not going to lie anymore. I am a Christian and I love Jesus Christ, and there's nothing you can do about it. I would never go back. And then he hung up the phone, and he went ahead and texted my husband, my poor husband, and he said to my husband, "You've killed my mother, and you've killed my mother." I was like, oh my goodness. Like, you know, they blamed my husband because they thought my husband brought me to Christianity because he's a Christian, but I was a Christian before I met my husband, you know. So and then I hung up with them, and then they said they didn't want anything to do with me. So I hung up, and then I went ahead and called my uncle, and also told him that I am a Christian and I believe in Christ, and I would not forsake him for nothing or no one, and I'm never going back to Islam. And I told him that I was sorry that it took so long for me to tell him, but I'm not sorry that I am in love with Christ, that I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. And then he said to me that, what will people say? The same thing my mother said. The first thing that came out of their mouth is, what would people say? I am like, is that all you care about? What will people say? And then he said to me, and then, well, we're no more family, and then that's it. You can live on your own, and we're gonna take your son and we're gonna give him back to his Muslim dad because you're Christian now and you cannot raise him. My son is from a Muslim marriage, a marriage with my mother's best friend brother that I was married to for 5 months, and that despicable marriage ended. I ran away. I was trying to fit in, trying to do the right thing, make everyone happy but myself. So my son, my mom was taking care of him because I couldn't. I had to work and take care of them. So he told me that I'm never gonna see my son again, that they're gonna give him back to his father. I told him that'll be over my dead body. That's not gonna happen. At this time, all fear of them just went away. So they disowned me, and then before I even get to call my dad and tell my dad, they had already called my dad and told him. So my dad was sick at that time, and he had a heart problem. So I was trying to find a way to tell him, but they told him before I did. And my dad sent me a text message. My dad sent me a text message disowning me through the text message. In the text message, he told me that Muslim blood and Christian blood does not mix together, that I'm no more his daughter. And he said, goodbye, my daughter, who was once my daughter. And I looked at that message. I said, well, goodbye for the second time, Papa. Tu m'avais laissé avant. Lorsque j'avais 3 ans. It means that you left me when I was 3. You leaving me again. So my whole family disowned me. And but God gave me this strength, like I cannot explain it. Like I was hurt, but I was free. I was free. I was free that I wasn't hiding anymore. I was free that I can give my fullness to God, my full love to God. I was free. I wasn't hiding God anymore. I was so terrified because God said that when you forsake Him in front of other people, He's gonna do the same in front of His Father. So I couldn't stand it. It was eating me inside. But I felt free. I felt this freedom. I didn't even care that I've lost all my family. Like I didn't even care. At that point that I was willing, I wanted to give it all to God. Like, take it all, God. Just take it all. I emptied my cup. Lord, fill my cup. I give myself completely to you. That's what I did. And I seeked God. I prayed. I fasted for like 40 days. I was seeking God. I was praying non-stop. I was in the night, in the day. I wanted God to know that this is who I am. This is what I wanted to be with you, to do for you. This is the relationship that I wanted to have with you. And that's what I did, because I felt free. Although my family left me, but God didn't leave me. He filled me up. He filled me with so much love, with so much joy, and with so much strength to fight. I trusted God. I tried fighting for my son, but at the end of it, I gave it all to God. I rolled it over to Him. I trusted Him. I knew He was going to do something. I prayed for my family till today. I keep praying for them. I'll never stop praying for them because I love them. So then couple months later, actually a year later, my dad died. A year later, my papa was dead. I never got to say goodbye. never talked to him. But when they called me and they told me that my papa was dead, I wept. But I was not weeping because he was dead and I didn't see him. I was weeping because he's dead and I know how much he hated Christ and how much he hated Christians, called them infidels. Called me infidel. I was weeping for his soul. Every time I close my eyes, it's like I get this vision of his soul. So I wept. I prayed to God that God would save him. Because I love my papa. I wanted him to be saved. After that, I kept praying months. Thank God, he did what he does best. He restored my relationship with my son. I called and I talked to him. And he took the phone and he said to me, "Mama, I know. One day we'll talk. I know everything that you've done for us. I know. Don't worry, I love you. We will talk one day." And I just said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. God is great. God is awesome. So, my journey, I am still growing and following Christ. And I have more dreams. And I experience His presence. And it's beautiful. He healed me. He restored me. He healed me from anxiety. He healed me from depression. He healed me from brokenness. He healed me from pain. He saved my soul. He healed me from nightmares. He healed my body from the pain. He healed me. He healed my body. He healed the pain that FGM caused my body. He healed the trauma. He gave me peace and joy that no therapist could have done for me. He continued to give me dreams and appear in my dreams. And I can't wait to start painting my dreams. That's the project that I'm working on. He healed my feet in a dream. I was laying down with my husband. My husband was asleep. And all of a sudden, between the living room and our bedroom, the roof opened. And then I just saw this light shining through. And then Jesus came down. And then the light was so bright. So bright. It took over the whole room. The glory, His glory. I couldn't move my feet. I was laying down on the bed, and then as He gets closer, the holes where they nailed Him, I saw it, and there was light coming through, and the light radiating. And He looked at me, and all I could say is, Lord, I love You. Lord, I love You. And you know what He did? He smiled. He smiled. And that was enough for me. And then He came near my feet. I was trying to get up in my dream. I got my upper body up, but I couldn't move my feet. So He came and then He touched my feet. Just brush against my feet. And then I woke up. Since that day, God healed my feet. Because my feet, it used to take me a long time to fall asleep. My feet would get extremely hot and restless. But He healed me from that. God, I am telling you, Jesus Christ is awesome. Like, He is awesome. He is the truth. He is the light. He is the way. He heals the sick. He frees us. He freed me. And I love Him. I love Him so much. And I do not mind sharing this part of my life for His glory. Everything is for His glory. On future videos, I'll share more of my dreams, as God is just molding me. I thank you guys for watching, and I pray this testimony blesses someone. God bless you. Shalom.
He's the same God who was there for you in the midnight hour. He's the same God who is able to wipe your tears away. He's the same God who was there in times of lack and want. He's the same God. He's Jehovah, my great provider. Tell me why you've given up on God. Tell me why you've given up on Him. Tell me why you've given up on God. Hold on, change is on the way. A busy now. Chukunonso Ogenibu sobugi Imano dia digite One more Jides yeike Ichayagie Chukwadia twasi Ogadiri gima. Don't you cry, change is here. Weeping may endure for a night. Joy is gonna come in the morning. You don't have to cry no more. Hold God by His word. He's gonna do what He says. Lift your hands and give Him praise. Hey, hey, busy now. You could know so. Ogini busobuki. Imana dia digite. One more. Chidezeke Ichayagie Chukwadi Atwasi Okadiri Kima. I know you've been crying, I understand. I know you've been wounded, but it's okay. I know you've been broken, but I'm here to mend your broken heart.